Hey viewers, Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So here, yesterday we were discussing about the nerve. So this information acquired at the end of the dendritic tip of a nerve cell sets off a chemical reaction that creates an electric impulse. See, when one neuron is connected with the second neuron at that time, the dendritic tip of a nerve cell is attached with each and other, and that is only responsible for the chemical reaction which is necessary for the electrical impulse. This impulse travels from the dendrite to the cell body. See, the electric impulse in between two neurons are in between two cell bodies and then along the axon to its end. See, then it moves from cell body, it moves to axon to next nerve ending to next neuron. See, at the end of axon, the electrical impulse sets off the release of some chemicals. The chemicals cross the gap or synapse and start similar electrical impulse in a dendrite of the next neuron. See, if I tap to first neuron where the neuroreceptors are present, after that what is going to happen from here, consider this as one neuron. From here the chemical impulse start begin, and here the synaptic knob or the end of one neuron. Next it begin with the second neuron, next with the third neuron. The same message is going to transfer from one neuron to next neuron, from next to third neuron, from next to next. Like this, the electric impulse or the chemical impulse is going to travel. This is general scheme of how nervous impulse travel in the body. See, we can say how the nervous impulse are going to travel from one neuron to another neuron. A similar synapse finally allows delivery of such impulses from neurons to other cells, such as muscle cells or glands. See, these all electric impulse are transmitted to some of the tissues, some of the cells, some of the muscles, and some of the organs in similar manner. It is thus no surprise that nervous tissue is made up of an organized network of nerve cells or neurons. See, this is one of the, we can say, network made up of nerve cells or the neuron, and is specialized for conducting information via electrical impulse from one part of the body to another. See, if I pinch anyone like this, at that time the chemical impulse is generated. The chemical stimulus is generated in that person's body, and the impulse is going from one neuron to another through next to next, like this. Ultimately it reaches to our central nervous system. Okay, so this is what the electrical impulse, we can say, it is happening very rapidly, not in a slow motion. Okay, see, if we look at the figure 6.1, that is this one, and identify the parts of neuron 1 where information is acquired. First thing we are going to come to know where the information is acquired, from where we are getting the information. Second, through which information travels as an electrical impulse. Through this, from where to where the electrical impulse is moving. Next, and where this impulse must be converted into a chemical signal for onward transmission. See, it requires the chemical signals for movement of electrical impulse from one place to another place, or one neuron to another neuron. See, if we go to one activity here, we need to know this activity means This is, we can say, interesting activity as per our lesson. See, put some sugar in your mouth. How does it taste? Earlier, when we are going to consume or put it on our tongue, at that time we don't feel the taste. When the saliva or the enzymes mixed with that sugar, at that time we'll feel it as somewhat sweet. Next, the second, block your nose by pressing it between your thumb and index finger. Now eat sugar again. Is this any difference in its taste? See, this is one of the activity we need to perform at home. See, when we are pressing our nose with the help of thumb and index finger, at that time, the similar way, the same taste will going to happen or not, we need to check it. While eating lunchbox, block your nose in the same way and notice if you can fully appreciate the taste of the food you are eating. See, sometimes it is happening that we won't have that particular flavor or taste in that meal. It is happening when we are having a blocked nose, right? When we are suffering from the cold, cough, or the fever, at that time the sensation, we can say, it is changed, and we are feeling only the bitter taste. Okay, we can say a kind of weird taste we are having in our mouth. See, next, what we need to do after that, while eating lunch, block your nose. See, at the school we can perform this, or at the home itself. While eating lunch, block your nose in the same way and notice if you can fully appreciate the taste of the food you are eating. See, we need to perform this activity, and we need to conclude that whether the same of that meal, the taste of that meal is same or different as compared to without holding that nose. Is there a difference in how sugar and food taste if your nose is blocked? If so, why might this be happening? Read and talk about possible explanations for these kids kinds of differences. Do you come across a similar situation when you have a cold? See, as I said you, when we have a cold, at that time we don't feel any of the flavor, we can't feel any of the taste of our meal. Okay, including our favorite meal, it is looking like or it is tasting tasteless. Okay, what happens in reflex actions? See, firstly, we need to go what is reflex. Reflex is a word we use very commonly when we talk about some sudden actions in response to something in the environment. See, when we are using the word reflex means when we need to describe the sudden action, we can say that time we are using the word reflex. We say, I jumped out of the way of the bus reflexly. See one of the example, when bus is arriving on the road, at that time I need to move immediately. At that time it is we are using the sentence as I jumped out of the way of the bus reflexly. Second example, I can say I pulled my hand back from the flame reflexly. See, if I'm holding the flame like this means immediately I'm going to pull it back. Immediately I am pulling it back. Why means the flame can damage my hand. Or I was so hungry my mouth started watering reflexly. See, if I became hungry at that time, I I was I was thought of favorite meal. See, something is wrong happened to my camera. That's why I make it very on. A common idea in all such examples is that we do something without thinking about it or without feeling in control of our reactions. Yet, these are situations where we are responding with some actions to changes in our environment. How is control and coordination achieved in such situations? See, let us consider this further. Take one of our example. Touching a flame is an urgent and dangerous situation for us. See, when we are touching the flame, is it not going to harm us? Yes, it is going to harm us. At that time, what we need to do at the immediate response when we are touching it, our body, we can say, it pull it back itself. How means say one seemingly simple way is to think consciously about the pain and the possibility of getting burnt and therefore move our hand. An important question then is how long will it take to think all this? The answer depends on how we think. See, if nerve impulses are sent around the way we have talked about earlier, then thinking is also likely to involve the creation of such impulses. But thinking is a complex activity, so it is bound to involve a complicated interaction of many nerve impulses from many neurons. In this, if this is the case, it is no surprise that the thinking tissues in our body consist of dense network of intricately arranged neuron. See, here the arrangement of neuron is, we can say, very bulk. Okay, and randomly they have arranged, but they are in an active state. It sits in the forward end of the skull and receives signals from all over the body, which it thinks about before responding to them. Obviously, in order to receive these signals, this thinking part of the brain in the skull must be connected to nerve coming from various parts of the body. Similarly, if this part of the brain is to instruct muscles to move, nerves must carry this signal back to different parts of the body. If all of this is to be done when we touch a hot object, it may take enough time for us to get burned. See, if we have a lots of time thinking on it means we may damage ourselves, we may burn ourselves. That's why our brain is going to perform the reflex action. How does the design of the body solve this problem rather than having to think about the sensations of heat? If the nerves that detect heat were to be connected to the nerves that move muscles in a simpler way, the process of detecting the signal or the input and responding to it by an output action might be completed quickly. Such a connection is commonly called a reflex arc. See, the connection which is responsible for the immediate interaction, immediate action, that is known as what? Reflex arc. Where should such reflex arc connection be made between the input nerve and output nerve? See, In between them, input nerve and output nerve, where the connection is present. Connection, sorry, the best place, of course, would be at the point where they first meet each other. See, if I said which is the best point means, I will say in between both of them where the reflex arcs are connecting to each other, we can say first point. Nerves from all over the body meet in a bundle in the spinal cord on their way to the brain. Reflex arcs are formed in this spinal cord itself, although the information input also goes on to reach the brain. See, whatever the stimulus we are getting, that is, we are getting the message from the brain in the form of response. Of course, reflex arcs have evolved in animals because the thinking process of the brain is not fast enough. In fact, many animals have very little or none of the complex neural network needed for thinking. So, it is quite likely that reflex arcs have evolved as efficient ways of functioning in the absence of true thoughts process. See, however, even after complex neural network have come into existence, reflex arcs continue to be more efficient for quick response. See, in animals, this response is considerably low than humans. Why means they don't have efficient way of thinking, and reflex arc have not evolved in the complex thinking ideas. Can you know can you now trace the sequence of event which occur when a bright light is focused on your eyes? See, this is what the mechanism how it's working. It is the hot pot. See, here in my fingers, I can say receptors, heat, pain receptors in my skin. It is the present, and they are when they touching it, we are getting the stimulus. Here, sensory neurons are going to send a signal. See, they are going to send a signal to our reflex arc. We can say this is connected with the spinal cord or central nervous system. See, the electrical impulse give a message to brain that something is wrong, we need to take action. See, here the relay neuron, here earlier the sensory neurons were bringing the signal or message to our central nervous system. In response to that, we are having a relay neurons. They are going to move rapidly and they will act on motor neurons. That is nothing but the effector or muscle in arm. They are going to pull back. After that, in this way only, our eyes are also working. See, whenever we are focusing a light on our eyes, at that time our pupils are going to give some kind of response. See, earlier when they are widely open pupils, but after putting flash on it, they are going to shrink in size, contrasting in the size. After that, when we are going to remove that light source, at that time they again come to our natural origin or natural size. Hope viewers here enjoying and understanding my explanation. So make sure to like, share and subscribe to my YouTube channel, and don't forget to hit the bell icon. So we will meet you again in our next streaming shorts or video. तब तक के लिए अल्लाह हाफिज़, दुआ में याद रखना.